Spooky season is the absolute best time of year when it comes to fun and exciting and interesting makeup. So I wanted to go through my collection of single shadows and pick out some shimmers that I thought would fit the theme and vibes of Halloween and spooky season really well. Some of these shades are newer and some of these shades have been around for a while. I hope that by watching this video, you might be inspired to pull out some shades from your collection and get into the vibes of the season. And you may see some shades that you want to add to your wish list as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. I do have a savings code with the indie brands. I'm going to go ahead and pop it up on the screen now. Starting off with a handful of shades from Clionadh, a Canadian indie brand, we have the shade Goblet. Goblet has a coral base and it shifts gold, lime, and aqua. And for all of my swatches, I'm going to show them in two different lightings so that you can appreciate both the sparkle and the shift. Goblet has definitely become a favorite of mine. It's one that's come out in the past couple of years. It's an electric multi-chrome and it's got a pretty smooth texture and a fair bit of sparkle. Next, we have the shade Archway, and Archway is an earth vibrant. I absolutely love earth vibrants because basically these shades are all like neutrals with a twist. You get shades with earthy tones, and this one is also on the newer side, like in the last couple of years. It's very shifty and sparkly. It's got a smoky plum base and it's got a peach and yellow shift. Also for my multi-chrome nerds, if you enjoy the shade Opulent, I think that you would also enjoy a shade like this. Next we have the shade Burnish Light, and this is considered a jeweled light multi-chrome. It has a gray base. It's a newer version of the original black base multi-chromes. Burnished Light is definitely a crowd favorite, and it's one of my favorite jeweled light multi-chromes. It's basically autumn in a shadow, and it shifts copper, yellow, chartreuse, and mint. Next, we have the shade Sandblast, and this is one of the OG formulas. This is a black-based multi-chrome, and this one has a sort of burnt orange base, and it has very fiery shifts. For those of you wondering about some of the differences between the black-based and the gray-based multi-chromes, basically the gray-based multi-chromes have the same shifts as the black-based multi-chromes, but they tend to be easier to blend out on the eyes. When you overblend a black-based multi-chrome, you can reveal the black base underneath. Next, we have the shade Calligraphy. Honestly, this shade became an instant favorite of mine. It's got a black base and it shifts copper and bright yellow. This is considered a glitter multi-chrome, and you can see that it has a good bit of sparkle. There's just something about this shade that is so incredibly moody and spooky season perfect. Here is what all 5 Clionadh shades I just talked about look like swatched on my arm, and in a different lighting so that you can appreciate those shifts. I also feel like all of these shades would look so pretty in a look together. I'm definitely seeing some fun and inspiring color combinations. Next, we have a handful of shadows from Touch of Glam Beauty, who does moody and grungy and deep really well. They did come out with a bunch of new shades as well, so I'm going to share several of those in this segment. First, we have the shade Not So Berry Basic. This is a birthday style shadow. These ones are really great for shadows that have multicolored sparkles. It's got a deep plum base and it has green and red sparkles. Next, we have the shade I'm in a Cinnamood, and this is considered a diamond sparkler. This is another category of shadow that has multicolored sparkles. It has a very rich, deep taupe base with flashes of silver, cinnamon, pink, gold, and copper. This formula is a little bit flaky, but it smooths out well with your finger. Next, we have the shade Pumpkin Spice and Everything Extra, and Touch of Glam really has some of the cutest names. And of course, this one was made with Halloween in mind. This is a birthday style shadow. It's very fiery and it has copper, pink, magenta, and green sparkles. And in this lighting here, you can see some of the fiery shifts of the shade. Next, we have the shade Spill the Chai. This one is another favorite. I'm kind of discovering about myself that I really love orange chromes this time of year. This is another birthday style shadow, and it has a lighter orange base in comparison to the shade that I just swatched, but it's got a very fiery shift, and it has pink and gold reflex. Here it is in another lighting so you can appreciate those shifts. Now we have the shade Leave Me Alone. This is also a newer shade. It's a birthday style formula. This shade is incredibly shifty. It has an orange base. It shifts red, green, and gold. The tones in this shade definitely remind me a little bit of Burnish Light, but this shade has a lot more kind of sparkle in it because all of the birthday style shades have multicolored sparkles in them. Last but not least, we have the shade How Very Dare You. This is a slightly older shade, but it's one that I keep coming back to. I love how deep and moody this one is, while still being incredibly sparkly. This is a blackened green that's packed with green, gold, and orange sparkles. And here's what all of the shades I just talked about from Touch of Glam look like swatched on my arm. I think you can see exactly what I mean when I say that Touch of Glam does deep and moody really well. And just look at all of these beautiful multicolored sparkles. Okay, now we're gonna get into sharing a handful of shades from Shine by SD, starting off with this jeweled multichrome called Distraction. Shine by SD actually does make some of my favorite jeweled multichromes. I really like the texture of their formula. All of their jeweled shades are incredibly high impact. They have a smooth formula. This shade Distraction has a magenta base, and it's got a yellow, orange, and green flip. Next, we have the shade Starbent, and this is a newer formula. I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Shine by SD definitely has some of the sparkliest shades in my collection, and I really like this new formula. Starbent has a gold base with an orange and green flip. A lot of the Dreamline crystals have a sort of semi-sheer base, which makes them look super glowy on the lids. Next, we have the shade Light Flex, which is another Dreamline crystal. This has a gold base as well, but it has a predominantly kind of chartreuse green shift. And something that I want to mention about Shine by SD is that they've been playing around with a lot of really fun and interesting and innovative formulas. Next, we have the shade Status Shift, and this is also a Dreamline crystal. It has a kind of pinky red base with a fiery yellow-orange shift. As you can tell, I absolutely love these new Dreamline crystals, and I think that there's a bunch of shades in this collection that really do fit the vibes of the season. And this collection is also great for people who like both sparkle and shifty shades. The last shadow that I picked out from Shine by SD is called Gladiator. This is one of the jeweled multichromes that came out several years ago, and it still remains very special and unique in my collection. It has a very bright bronzy gold base, and it has a kind of burnt orange shift to it. I feel like the jeweled shades from Shine by SD aren't talked about enough, so I try to show those a little bit extra love. And here's what all of the shades I just talked about from Shine by SD look like swatched on my arm, and in a different lighting so you can appreciate those shifts. Now we have a few shades from Terra Moons. They actually came out with some new Halloween kind of mystery bundles. But since those are still kind of a secret, I can't really show those. I'm going to start off with a classic. This is Ophiuchus. This is one of my favorite grungy green shadows from Terra Moons. And actually, they also have an eyeshadow palette named Ophiuchus. This one has a green, gold, teal, and lime shift. Next, we have a shade called Written in the Stars. I would consider this honestly a really kind of interesting neutrals with a twist type of shade. It's described as having a teal base, though I don't find the base of the shade to be super bright. It shifts gold and orange, it's packed with sparkle, and its texture is very smooth. The shifts in the shadow are so special. Next, we have the shade Pulsar, and this is an absolutely stunning purple shade. I feel like Terra Moons has so many options when it comes to purples. Now, this one does have a slightly flakier texture. It's incredibly sparkly, and it has very fiery tone shifts. Now we have a few shades from Dieverune. They are a relatively new indie brand, like around 2 years old at this point. And they have so many favorites for me. This is the shade Thunderbolts that came out earlier this year. This is one of the deepest and moodiest purples in my collection. It's incredibly sparkly, it's smooth in texture. Just one thing I do want to make note of is that this one does stain my skin. which honestly does happen with a lot of deep purples. Next we have the shade Necromancy. This came out last Halloween. This is a black-based multi-chrome. It's an incredibly cool shade. It has a reddish orange base and it's got a very strong gold and green shift. This formula from Dieverune is pretty unique too. They came out with 3 shades last Halloween that are called Phantom Shifters. They're incredibly sparkly but also very shiny and reflective looking on the skin. Next we have the shade Alchemy, which is another Phantom Shifter. This one has a kind of rich green base and a strong blue-purple shift. Something that you do tend to see with black-based multichromes is that they have a very strong multichrome shift. And here it is in another lighting just so you can appreciate that kind of blue-purple shift a little bit more. Here is what the 3 shades I just showed from Dieverune look like swatched to my arm. And y'all might have seen, but they actually sneak peeked a Halloween collection that's coming soon, and I can't wait to see it. Here's what those shades look like swatched in another lighting so you can appreciate the shifts. Okay, now we're on the last stretch, and I wanted to include some other brands that are available at a variety of retailers, starting off with Rituel de Fille. This is called their eye soot formula, and this is a really beautiful kind of near black shade. It's called Obsidian. This shade doesn't have sparkle, but it looks so cool on the lids. The eye soot formula doesn't completely set down, so you may have a little bit of creasing, but I find that it taps out very well with your fingertips. Now we have a couple of ColourPop Super Shock shadows. I think the ones that came out as the second Twilight collection are absolutely perfect for Halloween. This is the shade called the Valturi. This is basically like a deep, vampy blackened red. The Super Shocks in this collection are a little bit different because they're not ultra sparkly, but they do have a certain kind of shine and glow. Next, we have the shade We Won't Bite, and this is another Super Shock shadow. I would describe this almost like an antique bronzy gold. I honestly feel like the whole New Moon collection was done really well. I don't typically think of gold tones as being moody, but I feel like this one kind of is. Next, I have a couple of eye paints from Violette FR, and now Violette is available in Sephora. I really like these eye paints. Now, they are a little bit pricey, but I mean it when I say this really is one of the best eye paint formulas that I've tried. This is a beautiful red tone shimmer shadow, and it's called Paris La Nuit. Next, we have the shade Violette Sauvage. This is a really beautiful purple tone shade. It has a hint of blue in it. I also love how thoughtfully the brand selects each of these eye paint shades. I didn't talk about it in this video, but they're also known for their really iconic matte blue cobalt eye paint called Gia Blue. And the very last shade I want to talk about is from Mob Beauty. This is called Milky Way. This is from the Trad Goth collection that was done in collaboration with Jessica Hayes. This is a powder shimmer formula, and there's just something extra special about this one. And in case you didn't know, you can actually get each of these shadows individually. You don't have to get the whole collection. Here's what the last set of shades I just talked about look like swatched in my arm. I'd love to hear in the comments what you think about the shades I selected for this video, and if spooky season makes you feel as excited about makeup as it does for me. As always, I hope you found my video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.